Hey, shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, brothers and sisters. We're back at it again. This is your brother Ahijah, Most High in Christ bless, here with another classroom session of Understand What Thou Readest. Today we're going to go into train up a child. So today's topic is going to be about dealing with our children. Today again, I'm your teacher. My name is Brother Ahijah. My reader is going to be
Brother Enoch.
and shalom, shalom. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started and get right into it. May not be a long class, but Lord's will is edifying. Edifying. Romans chapter 15 and verse 4.
The book of Romans, chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
All right, go ahead, read it again.
The book of Romans, chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning,
So
that
the
we
things
through
that are written in
patience
this Bible, the things that are written in this Bible, brothers and sisters, are written before our time. These are the things that were written aforetime. What were they written for?
written for our learning,
So that we could learn from the examples that were set in place before us. Go ahead.
that we through patience and
Stop.
comfort of the scriptures
It's going to take patience. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. You will not pick it up and it's just you're a master at it. Through patience and comfort of the scriptures, leaning on the scriptures for your understanding, what comes of it?
might have hope.
That we might have hope in getting the kingdom of God. So again, today we're going to go into our children, dealing with our children. So let's go to Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 4. And the class
The,
might cut. And remember, it's a two-edged sword, so it cuts both ways.
all praises. The book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 4. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath.
Don't promote anger in your house. Oh, actually, go ahead and read it through. We're going to read Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4 through 9, and then we'll go back.
The book of Ephesians, chapter 6. The book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 4. And we're reading all the way through 9. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord.
Read it all the way through, loved one.
Verse 4. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath.
You got to.
You just read that one, loved one. Go ahead, read it from the top. Read it right.
I thought you want. Okay. Read it
Chapter
again.
6, verse 4 through
And ye
9.
fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Verse 5. Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters, according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, and singleness of your heart as unto Christ. Not as with eye service, as men pleasers, but as servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart.
Read.
With good will, doing service as to the Lord and not to men.
Read through verse 9, brother.
Knowing that whatsoever good thing any man doeth, the same shall he receive of the Lord, whether he be bond or free. And ye masters, do the same things to them, forbearing, threatening, knowing that your master also in heaven, neither is there respect of persons with him.
All right, let's jump back to verse 4, get some understanding. Let's get some meat off this bone.
And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath.
So it's telling you, parents, don't intentionally cause your kids to get angry. Don't promote violence in your household. Don't make it seem like that is the norm. That's provoking your children to wrath. That is not what we're supposed to do. Go ahead.
Provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord.
So bring them up in these laws, statutes, and commandments. Go ahead.
Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters. according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in the singleness of your heart as in Christ.
So this is not saying, hey, you guys are slaves to these men. No, it's saying follow the divine order that God put in place. It goes God, Christ, man, woman, child. Know your place in that role or in that list and play your role. Don't get outside of your role. Follow the divine order. That's why I'm saying servants be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh. This is according to God's divine law. And it says, with fear and trembling, meaning that these people who are over you, you show them respect as if you're not going to go against them with fear and trembling as unto the Lord, in singleness of heart as unto Christ, meaning that is all that you want to do. That is all you're going to do is keep that divine order and not go again, not kick against the pricks, as the world would say. Go ahead, read verse 5 or 6.
Not with eye service as men pleasers, but as servants of Christ, doing the
So
will of God from the heart,
go ahead. Verse 7.
with good will doing service, as to the Lord and not to men.
So this is just saying everything you do it genuinely unto the Lord. You're not doing it to please man. You're not doing it to please your spouse, to please your children. You're purely doing this to please God. And let that be your sole desire and sole intention. Go ahead.
Knowing that whatsoever good thing any man doeth, the same shall he receive of the Lord.
So everything good you do, you're simply storing those treasures up in heaven, and that good will be done back to you. So don't think it's not going noticed, because it is. Read.
Whether he be bond or free. And ye masters, do the same things unto them, forbearing threatening, knowing that your master also is in heaven. Neither is there respect of persons with him.
So, to shorten that up for our brothers and sisters online, as leaders, as heads over the body, as heads over our households, we can't lead by force, by threatening, by pointing the finger and trying to be a drill sergeant. We can't do that. Why? Because what does it say is going to happen? Read that again, verse 9, the second half. Knowing that your
Neither is there
master,
respect of persons with him. Or you want
uh,
to
verse
knowing that
9.
your master also is in heaven. Neither is there respect of persons with him.
So knowing that your master is also in heaven, and the same way you treat him, he's not going to show you a special level of respect because you're different than one of the people you treated that way. So be careful on how you treat people, because he will treat you the same way. And this is going into what? The divine order. So it's not just anybody, it's the person that God appointed over you. Just remember, we're in this truth as a nation of people, but the spouse you're with, it isn't like back in the old days. It wasn't a forced marriage or an arranged marriage. You chose this person, and you're in this truth, so you have to endure with this person for the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
Um, you got anything, Enoch, you want to bring out?
On that level, we can
Uh,
continue.
let's go to Psalm 78 and verse 5. And we're going to read through verse 8.
The book of Psalms, chapter 78, verse 5. For he established the testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children, that they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments, and might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with God.
All right, go ahead, read it from the top.
For he
Verse
established a
5.
testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel.
So he's telling you this is who he's dealing with. He's dealing with the children of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, no one else. He's saying this is something he established with and he appointed to. So this is who he's dealing with. So this is who the subject is pertaining to. Read.
Which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children.
So he commanded our fathers, our forefathers, that they should teach the future generations those same laws, statutes, and commandments which he gave to our forefathers, the 12 tribes of Israel. Go ahead.
that the generation to come might know them,
That the
even
children to come, the children that are coming up, the ones that we are raising, are raised in this truth so that way they could know how to walk in God's laws. Go ahead.
even the children which should be born,
Even the ones that are going to be born, the future generations. Go ahead.
who should arise and declare them to their children, that they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God,
So
but to
it's a
keep his commandments. Can we read it again?
yes, please, please, please.
That they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God.
So we must set our hopes and our faith in God and not forget the things that He has already done. Like I said, the things that were written aforetime. Don't forget those things. Read.
And keep but keep his commandments.
But keep His commandments
And might not at verse 8, and might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation,
in hopes that our children are not like who?
and that might not be as their fathers,
That they're
a,
not as their fathers. Again, the things written aforetime, our forefathers went off. Go ahead.
a stubborn and rebellious generation,
Doesn't
a
that sound like the
generation,
children nowadays? Stubborn and rebellious? This is our people's characteristics. We are a stubborn and rebellious people, and it is our job to train up our children from their youth so they don't become those stubborn and rebellious adults. Read.
a generation that set not their heart aright.
A whole generation of people who is only set on wickedness. That's their whole desire, is only to be set on wickedness. Why is that? Because they weren't raised in these laws, statutes, and commandments. They were left to their own devices, and we'll get to that. Um, Go ahead, read. Finish
And
that
whose
out.
spirit was not steadfast with God.
So their spirit wasn't steadfast with God. Well, we know that if your spirit isn't steadfast with God, Brother Enoch, who's your spirit steadfast with?
With the Lord.
If it's not with the Lord, then with who?
That's what you're. If it's not steadfast with the Lord, you're running your own mind.
You're running with Satan. So we have to raise our kids in this truth. It is important. It is pertinent that we do so. Let's go to Proverbs 22, verse 5 and 6. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 5 and 6.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 5 and 6. Verse 5. Thorns and snares are in the way of the froward. He that doth keep his soul shall be far from them. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it.
All right. Go ahead, read from top.
Verse 5. Thorns and snares are in the way of the froward. He
So it's
that
telling
keep,
you pain and suffering is promised to the froward. Go ahead. Or a
he that
froward is
keep
someone who
his
is
soul,
rebellious or along those lines. Go ahead.
he that keep his soul shall be far from them.
So those that keep the commandments will be far from that. Read it from the top one more time.
Thorns and snares are in the way of the froward.
So the thorns and snares are in the way of the wicked,
He that keep his soul shall be far from them.
but he that keeps the commandments will not go through that same pain and suffering, which is that lake of fire, that eternal damnation. So it is important that we keep these commandments because though we may go through physical ailments here in the flesh carnally, spiritually we're building ourselves up to another level. And the last thing we want to do is worry about the desires of the flesh. And then all of a sudden now we're stuck with those snares and nets of eternal damnation. Um, from there, let's jump to Proverbs 29 and 17. Oh, actually, read
You
verse
want the
6
verse
again.
6,
Read
Mike?
verse 6. Read verse 6.
Verse 6. Train up, verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go.
So this is why it's important that we keep our souls, that we train up a child in the way they should go, because we can't train up a child to keep the commandments if we're not disciplined and keeping the commandments ourselves. Go ahead.
And when he is old, he will not depart from it.
So that way, when he becomes of age and has the notion to make right from wrong that could be a life-changing decision. Nowadays, they say when you turn 18, you will go to county jail. You make that decision after a certain point. But if he's trained up properly as a child, he knows when he comes to that intersection in life, he knows which road, which pathway to take because he's been trained on what to do and not react off emotions. That's why we have 16-year-old children doing 40 years in jail because they weren't trained up properly and they were given a pistol and reacted off emotions. So it's important that we train up our children. It is very important.
Right.
Go to Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 17.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 17. Correct thy son, and he shall give thee rest. Yea, he shall give delight into thy soul.
And verse 18, sorry.
Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he.
All right, read it from the top.
Verse 17. Correct thy son, and he shall give thee rest.
So correct your child and he'll give you a peace of mind because you will know, you know what? I've already corrected him. He's been disciplined. He knows the consequence of the action. So I don't have to worry about him putting his hand up there and touching that fire on that stove. He knows what's going to happen. Oh, my daughter knows the consequence of what's going to happen when she tries to sneak out this house because she's at a certain age. So she knows she's not going to sneak this out. So I could rest a bit easier because she's fearful of my commandments. With fear and trembling shall she follow that divine order. Read.
Yea, he shall give delight into thy soul.
So when they do that, it makes you proud of your child. That's when you say they give you delight unto your soul. Man, that feels good. My kids listening to what I say. They're keeping the commandments. All praises. Thank you, Lord. Give God the glory. That's giving delight to your soul. Go ahead.
Where there is no vision, the people perish.
But if you don't have the vision or foresight to see that if I don't instill this at a young age, that dream that you have of them when they're in their mother's womb to be this amazing child, it will perish away because you didn't put in the work to get them there by telling them, teaching them to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. Go ahead.
But he that keepeth the law, happy is he.
But he that keepeth the what?
But he that keepeth the law, happy is he.
So, in order to have that vision, you have to keep the law. It's that simple, brothers and sisters. It's that simple. From there, let's go to Genesis. Genesis chapter 8, verse 21. Like I said, I don't have too much more. I got a couple more. Said,
Elijah,
but
will you can I bring one out, little one?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just to tie off that. But go back to Proverbs 23 and 13 and 14, just to tie in with Proverbs 19 and 17 and 18.
You said Proverbs chapter 23.
Yes, and 13, please.
Okay. Proverbs chapter 23 and verse 13. Withhold not correction from your child.
So the Bible states that we're not supposed to withhold correction. So if our child, or if our daughter or our son does something that's not they're not supposed to, we're supposed to either chastise them, which is spank them, or we're supposed to discipline them. But if we withhold that, that is against the Bible. Read.
For if thou beatest him with a rod, he shall not die.
So if you spank him and hit him, he's not gonna die. You know what's gonna happen is he's gonna learn a lesson. He's gonna be disciplined. And all of us at a young age, the days before when we were younger, like in the 80s and 90s, parents used to hit their kids. Now these days, and the 2000s, people don't hit their kids. They're on their devices. They're on social media. They're out there with the crowds. They don't obey their parents. There is no discipline for these kids now these days. Read.
They shall beat him with the rod and shall deliver his soul from hell.
And just like the brother brought out in Proverbs 29 and 18, where it says, where there's no vision, the people perish, because without that correction, you're going to deliver his soul. So with that counsel that you give him after you chastise your kid, that's the counsel that you're giving him, because there's a reason why you had to counsel him, is because he made a mistake. That chastisement's going to deliver his soul from hell, like the brother brought out. Genesis what?
Genesis chapter 8 and 21.
Yes, sir. Book of Genesis chapter 8, verse 21. And the Lord smelled a sweet Savior. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more everything living as
All
I
right.
had done.
So it says the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, saying our mind is full of wickedness from a young age. And this is back in Genesis. So
That's
this
right.
is all the way back in the beginning. Even back then, it was being told that our imaginations are wicked. And this isn't just young men, this is young women as well. Just because it's written in a masculine form, brothers and sisters, does not mean that our daughters and mothers and wives and sisters, Lord's will, they're in this truth, they're keeping these commandments, but doesn't mean that they're not going to be wicked as hell if they're not applying what this says. Why? Because God says this was in them from their youth.
Right.
So the ones you think are innocent and quiet, it's still a wicked thought in their head. Just because they don't express it like the little nasty boy next door doesn't mean that they're still not just as wicked, if not more, because they could even be cunning and deceiving about it. So our children are wicked. We have to not acknowledge that and realize that it's nothing to make them feel bad. This is something God put on beginning,
Yep, and it's in the Bible. The Bible
and
states
it's
that
in the Bible.
it
The
was from
Bible,
their youth, so it's not us saying it. It's the Lord that has it written down for us to remember, like you brought out Romans 15:4.
absolutely, absolutely. Go to did I already go to Proverbs 23 and 12 and 13 or 12? Yeah,
No.
I'll go to Proverbs 23 and 12, 12 to 14.
Okay, okay, because you're gonna go tie into that. Okay,
Yeah.
the book of Proverbs, chapter 23, verse 12. Apply thine heart and instruction in thine ears to the words of knowledge.
So it's saying apply your heart to instruction. Pay attention to what your parents are teaching you. Pay attention to what you're teaching your children. We must apply our hearts to these laws, statutes, and commandments. Because now we're going to go to what you brought out, Enoch. Go ahead, verse 13.
Withhold not correction from a child.
So if we're applying these laws, we cannot withhold correction because that's how we're going to end up with a spoiled brat afraid to hurt our kid's feelings or trying to spare the child. And we don't want to do that. So
Right.
from there, I wanted to jump to Proverbs 29 and 15. Let's go to 29 and 15.
The book of Proverbs,
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
chapter.
I take that back. Let's go over to Sirach 30 and 12. Let's go to Sirach 30 and 12 first. Sorry about that, brother.
Right, I have that written down, so you're gonna go back to that, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
The book of Sirach, chapter 30, verse 12. Bow down his neck while he is young, and beat him on the sides while he is a child, lest he wax stubborn and be disobedient unto thee, and so bring sorrow to thine heart.
Read.
Chastise thy son, and hold him to labor, lest his lewd behavior be an offense unto thee.
All right, let's start it from the top.
Bow down his neck while he is young.
While he is young, make your child know that you are over him, that he is not he doesn't run anything. The only thing he could do without your permission is go to the restroom. He can't do nothing. You run it. You have to make him submit to you when he is young. He has to know who is ruler when they are young. That's how you have grown men who will see their parent and their dad could be this 80-year-old shriveled man and he'll say something. He's like, okay, but this is a grown man. He'll crush this little guy. He broke him when he was young. And now that man knows he could crush his father. But the amount of respect he has because what he instilled in him when he was young, he wouldn't dare. He'd be afraid to lift a finger to him. Like they say, when you have an animal, you have to break that animal. Like a horse, they have to break a wild horse before they can ride it because it just goes crazy. Same thing with our children. We have to start on them when they're young. Otherwise, we're going to have little devils, little demons. Read.
Chastise thy son. and hold him to labor.
So I'm sorry. Start from the top again one more time.
Bow down his neck while he is young, and
Uh-huh.
beat him on the sides while he is a
And
child.
don't be afraid to discipline him and pop him on his little butt when he's out of order. It's not going to hurt him. It's going to hurt you just as much as it's going to hurt him. Go ahead.
Lest he wax stubborn.
If you don't, what's going to happen?
Lest he wax stubborn.
He's going to be running these streets saying he's going to do whatever he wants and come in whenever he wants, and you can't stop him. He's stubborn. Go ahead.
And be disobedient unto thee.
And then he's not going to listen. He's going to call you out of your name. He's going to treat you as if you're his friend, not his parent. He won't look at you as a superior, but more as a equal or someone who's inferior to him. He won't respect you in your old age if you don't instill this and break him when they are young. Go ahead.
And be disobedient unto thee, and so bring sorrow to thine heart.
And when they do that, it brings sorrow to your heart. Nobody wants to see their kids rebel against them, especially when you're out in public and your kid is acting a fool and you can't control them because that's not something that was instilled in them when they were young. Read.
Chastise thy son, and hold him to labor.
Chastise thy son and hold him to labor. Discipline him and make him work for the things that he gets. If he wants something, okay, you could have it. You're going to work for it. And you're going to make him be disciplined. You could be nice and play, but doesn't mean you have to be his friend. You are not your child's friend. You could be friendly, but you don't have to be his friend. Our child needs leaders, not friends. We are to lead them to become leaders.
Lest
Read.
his lewd behavior be an offense unto thee.
Unless the things he do make you ashamed. And you're over here, yeah, how's everything going with little Ray Ray? Ray Ray got 35 years, but I thought he's supposed to graduate high school with little John John. Yeah, John John got 40 years. What'd they do? They robbed two banks and shot some. Wait a minute, why? I don't know. Their dads were doing the same thing. Oh, they didn't have guidance. This is a trend that our people go through. So it's important that we train up a child in the way they should go.
And Ahijah, like that goes into, it says that chastise that son, but that goes in chastise that daughter as well, because these mothers now these days, they don't chastise their daughters. They let their daughters dress just like them with immodest apparel, wearing things that are see through, showing their special parts. And what does it say? It says right here. It says
Call it as it is. These little girls are dressing like grown hoes.
yeah, and it
That's
says
what
their
it
lewd
is.
behavior. So not exactly their lewd behavior. They're nasty now. They're nasty out there, like sleeping around with these little boys, and they get pregnant. And it says now it's an offense. Now your 16-year-old daughter is pregnant or has an boyfriend, and she's a hoochie of the high school. That lewd behavior is going to become an offense to you. Now you're going to be mocked. They're going to score. You're going to be scorned the mock to get angry because now it's an offense to you, your own daughter. So that's why it's important what the brothers bringing out is that we got to discipline our kids, not only discipline them physically, but with the scriptures as well to edify them.
And brothers and sisters, it doesn't mean every little thing they do, they get a whooping for it. No, sometimes discipline means building up their mind, building up those
Right.
barriers in their brain, letting them know that, hey, I have a daughter. Look, baby, I need you to go sit down over here and I'm gonna show you what boys will say to you or things that little boys say to try to convince little girls like you. Building up the things that they'll come against in the world. We must prepare our children for this. How these women will see little boys and throw themselves at them because they see something that they want and it's young and it's not bad if a woman does it to a little boy, but our kids don't think that way. And we have to build them up that these women are just as wicked as these men and these little girls are just as wicked as these little boys. So we must stay on them. And we're not doing it because we don't want you to have fun. We want you to have fun more than we had fun, but we want you to have fun righteously. So that way, when you meet your husband or when you meet your wife, that man or that woman will say, I have an honest wife in front of me who was raised righteously, and I have no worries about her head veering to the left or to the right because she was raised up and rooted in this truth.
Right.
Let's go to Sirach chapter 3 and verse 1. I'm sorry, yeah, Sirach chapter 3, verse 1.
Book of Sirach, chapter 3, verse 1.
We're going to read down through verse 12.
Hear me, your father, O children, and do thereafter, that ye may be safe. For the Lord hath given the father honor over the children, and hath confirmed the authority over them of the mother over the sons. Whoso honoreth his father maketh an atonement for his sins. And he that honoreth his mother is as one that layeth up treasure. Whoso honoreth his father shall have joy of his own children. And when he maketh his prayer, he shall be heard. He that honoreth his father shall have a long life. And he that is obedient unto the Lord shall be a comfort to his mother.
Okay, go ahead. Stop. So we're gonna just go ahead and run through that real fast. It's saying, verse 2, read that again.
For the Lord hath given the father honor over the children, and
So
hath confirmed the authority of the mother over the sons.
so the Lord is the one who put the man over the household and gave the mother the position to raise up the child in their education and the way they should go. Go ahead.
And you see that right there where it says, and it says that, and the father honored over the children and had confirmed the authority over the mother. It's
Absolutely.
the husband that calls the shots and gives the wife.
Absolutely.
You do this. Verse 3:
Absolutely. That's where it says
Whoso
confirmed.
honors his father,
Absolutely. Go ahead.
my bad, brother. Verse 3: Whoso honoreth his father maketh an atonement for his sins.
So if you are that child that honors your father and does what he says and doesn't, oh, dad, every time he asks you to do something or always have something to say, you're making an atonement for your sins. For the wickedness you do, you honoring your father, it's clearing up that path a little bit. Go ahead.
Verse 4: And he that honoreth his mother is as one that layeth up treasure.
And if you honor your mother, it's like you're storing up treasure. It's like you're storing up your treasure in the kingdom. You're building up your bank account. Go ahead.
Verse 5: Whoso honoreth his father shall have joy of his own children.
So these are all analogies. If you honor your father, it's gonna be like you're atoning for your sins. If you honor your mother, it's gonna be like it's like gonna be like you're stacking up your bank account. If you what to say, if you honor your father, your children are gonna have joy in you because they're gonna see how you treat grandpa and they want to do this. They want to have that same honor. Go ahead.
And when he makes his prayer, he shall be heard.
And when you pray at night, the Most High is gonna see that this is an honorable man. I'm going to hear his prayer. Read.
And Elijah, you know that verse 5 right there is important because I always tell my kids that is that if you honor your father, so if you're obedient to me, your kids are gonna you're gonna be able to enjoy your kids. They're gonna be obedient to you. It's a curse. So if we're wicked to our parents, your kids are gonna be wicked. God's gonna let that cycle go around.
Hey, it's not just that, loved one. My dad used to always tell me, I can't wait till you have kids because you might have we were
Yeah,
bad little
you going
kids,
to
and
get
they would
your own
say, "Oh,
medicine.
I
You're going to
can't
see how it
wait till
is.
you
Yeah.
have kids so you could get it." And
Yes,
now I was
sir.
like, I'd never get it, but now I understand. If I would
Yes,
have been
sir.
that obedient, disciplined, God-fearing child, I would have had children who weren't as rambunctious as they are now. Go ahead.
Verse 6: He that honoreth his father shall have a long life, and he that is obedient unto the Lord shall be a comfort to his mother.
The Lord will bless you with years of living on this earth to enjoy your children if you honor your father. See how the cycle goes? If I honor my father, I'm gonna have more years. If my children honor me, they're gonna have more years. So on and so forth. So more time together to keep these commandments.
Right.
Go ahead.
Verse 7: He that feareth the Lord will honor his father, and will do service unto his parents as to his masters.
And you're not gonna sit up here and complain, Mijo, I need to write to the store. I need to go get my prescription. Hey, I need to go do this. It's not gonna be a burden to you. You're absolutely, let's go. Not a problem. Because you honor your parents and the Lord sees that. Go ahead.
Honor thy father and mother, both in word and in deed, and that a blessing may come upon thee from them.
So honor your father and mother in your words and your actions, and blessings from your father and mother may come upon you, such as inheritance, if that's something they have to give you.
For the
Read,
blessing of the father established the house of the children, but the curse of the mother rooted out foundations.
read.
Glory not in the dishonor of thy father, for thy father's dishonor is not the glory unto thee.
So it says, don't glorify if your father falls on hard times. Don't be proud. Oh yeah, he's not doing good. I'm doing better than him. Don't do that. That's wicked. Don't do that. Go ahead. Because his dishonor isn't glory to you. It doesn't make you look good that he's doing bad. Go ahead.
For the glory of a man is from the honor of his father.
What makes you look good is the things that your father does. Go ahead.
Right. And the mother in dishonor is a reproach to the children.
And if you do things that your mother sees as dishonorable, it's a reproach to the children. Go
That
ahead.
that goes back to Ezekiel 16 and 44. It would be a byword that so is the mother, so is the daughter. So if your
Absolutely.
mama's wicked and she's a hoochie mama out there in the streets, that's gonna go. Your mom's your mom's scandalous. You know, it's gonna go back to that. That's what it's saying.
And
Should be a
there's more
real
of a likelihood that that child
yeah.
will fall down that path. Oh, just like you hear people who children, parents smoke, and they'll their whole life, oh, I'm never gonna smoke. I'm never gonna smoke. And then once they become of age, say, oh, I thought you were never gonna smoke. Yeah, well, I was around it my whole life. I didn't really have a choice. They're more susceptible to that. So we are a mirror to our children. The things that they see us do, they're going to do it.
Right.
So we make sure that we're holding up a positive image.
Verse
Go ahead and
12.
read. We're going to read through verse
Verse 12.
14.
Okay, verse 12. My son, help thy father in his age, and grieve him not as long as he liveth.
So as your parents get up there in age, don't move further away from them. Stay close. Help them in their age. Don't put them off in a nursing home. If you have the ability to help them, you help them in their old age. They helped you when you were young. You help them when they get old. The father shall become as the child, and the child shall become as the father. Read.
And if his understanding fail, have patience.
And if he gets forgetful, or if he loses memory, or his light starts to dim, or he's not as sharp as he used to be, or she's not as sharp as she used to be, have patience. Understand that you will be in that position, and you want your child to have that same patience with you. So what you put in your parents, your children will put into you. It is important, brothers and sisters, to have patience. Go ahead.
And despise him not when thou art in thy full strength.
So just because you're at you're the prime, the creme de la creme, you're at the cream of the crop, you're in your mid 30s and you feel strong and healthy as an ox, and he's in his 60s and weakening in his strength. Don't think that you can look down on him now. No, 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 no. That cannot happen. Not at all. Absolutely not. Um, Go ahead and read.
Verse 14. For the relieving of thy father shall not be forgotten, and instead of his sins, it shall be added to build thee up.
So, for the relieving of thy father shall not be forgotten. So, you helping your father, it will not be forgotten. And read. No, 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 no. That cannot happen. Not at all. Absolutely not. Hey,
In the day
turn
of
your
thine
mic off,
affliction,
brother. Turn your mic off.
in the day of thine affliction, it shall be remembered. Thy sins also shall melt away
I'm
as
sorry.
the eyes.
Read verse 4. I'm sorry. Read verse 14 again. I'm sorry. Read verse 14 again.
For the relieving of thy father shall not be forgotten, and instead of
Read.
sins, it shall be added up to build thee up.
So, you helping your father, you giving your father that relief, it's not going to be overlooked. It won't be forgotten. And what does it say? Instead of sins, it shall be added to build thee up.
Right.
So instead of adding sin to your plate, it's going to build your character up. It's going to establish that discipline. It's going to help you grow in that faith. From there, let's go
Isaac,
to
can I bring skin out
Colossians
real quick?
3 and verse 20. Got to
Can I bring skin out
absolutely,
real quick?
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
because what that chapter that you brought out is very heavy, because it's speaking about the respect of children with to their parents. Jump over to Sirach 7 verse 27 and read down to verse 30,
The book of
because
Sirach,
it's
chapter
going to give an
7.
analogy. It's going to give an analogy of the respect for our parents, but the respect goes into examples of your brother and people that are over you as well. It's giving you an analogy of that. Read.
The book of Sirach, chapter 7, verse 27. Honor thy father with thy whole heart, and forget not the sorrow of thy mother.
So, like the brother brought
Remember
out
that
in
thou
chapter three, yeah, start right there. Elijah brought out in chapter three is when your parents get old, you remember that the things that your parents suffered for you and the hard times that they had to raise you up, the food times you didn't have no food, there was no power, we didn't have no TV, we didn't have no heat in the house, but we didn't have no clothes, no shoes. You remember that when they get old, and you remember that your mom and your dad suffered for you. Read. That's why you got to honor them, respect them. Read.
remember that thou wast begotten of them.
Remember, you came from them, so don't be degenerate and ungrateful to remember. Oh, now I'm older now. Like he said, when you get of age of your strength, no, I could do this myself. No, you came from them. Have some remorse. Have some compassion. Read.
And how canst thou recompense them for the things that they have done for thee?
None of us could repay our parents the things that they did for us. We don't have that kind. We don't have that time, that money, and it's not even about the money. You can't do what your mom did for your dad did for you. You can never repay that, and neither can our
Eh,
kids repay us.
It's like this. If you think you could do what your parents did for you, when your parents turn 70 or 60 years old, you give the next 18 years to them only because that's what they did for you. From 0 to 18, they dedicated that to you to help become the best person possible. So if you think you could do what they did, don't worry about the money. Give them 18 years of your time with no complaints and uh with no stipulations or no conditions. Just unconditional. You're there for them
By the
100%,
high and some of our parents, like for some
and
of us
you'll
don't have
see
our
if you
parents.
could repay them.
Yeah, for some of us don't have our parents, but if our parents were here, they would be here for you. You could easily call your dad, or I could call somebody
Right.
that like my I didn't have my father, but I had my mom. I could easily call my mom and be like, "Hey, help me out." Some of us don't have our parents, but if you did, you would call them up and be like, "Hey, mom, can I go over there? I need to stay over there." Oh yeah, come over here, son. You got to stay there. You want to bring your wife and the kids? Go ahead, I'll watch the kids. Like our parents would still help us to this day, even though not we're not a part of their house no more. We live with our wives, but they would help you out. So like we can never go as far as they did. We
It's
can
like this.
never do that.
It's impossible to pay someone back who's still doing for you. And our
Yes,
parents,
sir.
if they're here on this earth, they're still doing for us. So we can't pay back who's still doing for us,
Yes, sir. How's where do
whether
you want to go
however
from
it may
there?
be. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
From
That's
there,
it.
go to
That's it.
Colossians 3 and 20.
Colossians 3 and 20. Oh, yes, sir.
Colossians chapter 3, 3 verse 20.
The book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 20. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this
No,
is
no,
well
no,
pleasing.
no. Just in the things that make you happy.
Children, obey your parents in all things.
I know it sucks. I know it sucks, brothers and sisters. I know it sucks, kids. But it is important that we obey our parents in all things because there's not one thing your parents gonna, well, let me speak as a generalization. If your parents are in this truth, there should not be a single thing that they will do that will misguide you or lead you in the wrong direction. So if your parents say, hey, no, you can't do that, they do not have to explain why you don't have to do that. Just know that the decision they made is in your best interest. It's not what you want to do because you're only trying to please the flesh. That's what children do. We've all been there. We want to please the flesh, get that temporary fix, whether it's a party at a friend's house or a sleepover at a cousin's who's in the world. That's all we want to do is please the flesh. Our parents know they could see outside of the things we could see. Like a rapper once said, if you left it to a kid, they will eat candy all day. But the parent doesn't let them because they know what comes of it. They're going to get tummy aches and cavities. So you
Right.
don't mind. No, you can't do that. The kids don't understand why, but the parents have the foresight. So obey your parents because when you turn 13, 14, 15 years old, trust me, your parents have been through that stage and there's nothing you're going through that they can't give you insight that's in your own forethought. Go ahead.
Children,
Was that the
obey
end of
your
that?
parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord.
So if you want to do something that's pleasing unto God, just listen to your mommy and daddy. Listen to your parents. Because I promise you, I'll tell every kid this till I'm blue in the face. If you did everything your parents asked you for without bucking back or barking back, I promise you, there's very little they would not allow you to have within this truth. If you did everything your parents said, if they said, do this, yes. Do that, yes. I need this, not a problem. I need that done anytime. I need that, and there's never, mom, or crying, or just it's just done. I promise you, your parents would. What do you want? I want a car when I turn 16. Sure, you do everything I ask. I have not a single reason why I couldn't give it to you. So I will go above and beyond to get you that because you are that child that joy and you do everything I ask and I'm proud of you and I want to show you how proud I am. And this is what your actions could get you. But if you're wicked and you're rebellious and talking back, you'll be lucky if you get a damn razor scooter.
Right.
Walk to school. Hell. From there, let's go to Exodus chapter 20 and verse. Just a little bit more of honoring our parents.
Exodus
Because
20
it's
and what?
important that we understand that our parents when we're young we don't see the coolness in our parents when we're young, but when you become older, when you become 21, 22, 23, and you're old enough to realize that how life truly works, you'll understand and have a new level of appreciation, like, man, I wish I would have done this when I was young. We're only here to tell you this because we've been through it. So if you want to be rebellious and stubborn, learn the hard way. Fall on your face, but don't be surprised when you have to pick yourself up. Because when you listen to your parents, even if you fall, they will be there to pick you up. But if you want to be rebellious and go against what they say and constantly not listen, sometimes you have to learn tough love. And then when you learn your lesson, you'll humble down and come back and say, you know what, you're right, I'm ready to learn. And they will still be there with open arms ready to teach you. But it's all about you listening to what they say. Go ahead.
Yes, because your internet's a little bit choppy, but that's Exodus 12 and 20, right? 12, 20 and 12, right?
Yes.
The book of Exodus
Exodus
chapter
20 and 12.
yes, the book of Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
So it's saying, honor thy father and thy mother. Show them respect. Respect your parents. Honor your father and mother. For how long? Read that again.
Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
So if you want that, you're supposed to honor your father and mother so that your days must be long. How long must you honor them? As long as you want your days and longer, because you want that say those your children to show you that same level of respect. You give what you get in this world, brothers and sisters. You give what you get in this world. I got a few more scriptures, and that's about it for me. Let's go to Sirach chapter 23 and excuse me, Sirach chapter 7. Actually, you already got that one, huh?
Was it 7 and or the one about the yeah, you
7 and
just read?
23. Yeah, I already grabbed that one. You already grabbed that one on me. Go to no, actually go to Sirach 7 and 23.
The book of Sirach, chapter 7, verse 23. Hast thou children? Instruct them, and bow down their neck from their youth.
We've already went over that. Teach your children while they're young. Discipline them while they're young. Go ahead. Verse 24.
Hast thou daughters? Have care of their body, and show not thyself cheerful toward them.
So, do you have daughters? Care for their bodies, teach them how to respect themselves, but give not thyself over to a light woman, a woman that's trying to be flirtatious. Don't allow your daughter to be that. That is not what we're allowing our children to be. We have to discipline and instruct our children and take care of our daughters' bodies because that's what draws men in. Sisters, if you have daughters, young princesses out there in the nation, understand that a man doesn't care about your grades. He cares about your goods. That's it. That's the bottom line. If he's in this truth, he's gonna want salvation with you and want to apply these commandments with you. If he's talking about
Right.
anything else, he doesn't want nothing good for you. All
Right.
he wants is your goods, and then he's gonna leave you and you're gonna be spoiled goods. That's not what we want for you.
Right.
We want your husband to take you honorably.
Right.
Go to Sirach 49 and 9. Got two more scriptures, and then I'm done, brothers. And I got a video. I got a short little video I want to
The book of Sirach, chapter
show you
49, verse
guys
9.
about.
Yes, sir.
Read.
For he made mention, for he made mention of the enemies under the figure of the rain, and directed them that went right. Right. He said, you said Sirach 4, 9, and 9, right?
Wait. Let me see if that's what I wanted. No, I don't think that's what I wanted. Let me see. No, that's not what I
Sirach.
wanted. I apologize.
Okay.
Let me get a. Let me jump here. My bad. My bad. Wrote down the wrong scripture. And 10 through 12.
What was that, Aisha?
Sirach chapter 26, verse 10.
The book of Sirach, chapter 26, verse 10. If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, that she abuse herself through overmuch liberty.
So if you know your daughter, just like you would know your son, you would know if you have a flirtatious daughter, if you have a fast little boy, if you have a fast little girl, you know your children. You see the spirit that's on your children. You see how they interact with people and everything. It says what to do. It says, if I have a daughter and she be shameless, keep her straightly, keep her close, keep an eye on her. Just know that she could go off quick. So keep her straight, keep her close so you could keep her in line. Go ahead.
Lest she abuse herself through much liberty.
Because if you don't, she will abuse herself. She will give herself over to that folly. She will give herself over to that fornication. She will give herself over to that wickedness because that's the spirit that's on her. Know the spirit that's on your children. It's important that we know the spirit that's on our children so we know how to teach them to combat those spirits. Otherwise, they're going to be left to their own devices and they're going to fail because they're children and they know no better. We are here to instruct them. So let's do that. Let's make sure we do that properly. Verse 11.
Watch over an impudent eye, and marvel not if she trespass against thee.
So watch over her. Watch over her and don't laugh at her. Don't laugh at her when she does something that may go against you, even if it may be cute in the moment. No, don't. Go ahead.
Hydra. Like even because it says marvel not if she trespass against thee, because if you don't follow that, what now you're surprised that she's being easy in the streets now?
Right.
You didn't have her in straightly. You didn't correct. You didn't get on her. You weren't on her. You weren't keeping the laws of educating your kid with the laws. You just
So don't be
that you
shocked
give
that
them
she's
the
a teen
liberty.
mom.
Yes,
Don't be
sir.
shocked that she's
Yeah,
16
don't
and
be
pregnant.
surprised. Don't marvel. You said verse 12, right?
Yes, sir.
Verse 12. She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he has found a fountain, and drink and of every water near her.
So if you do not keep her closely, she will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler. A thirsty traveler is going to run to a well. They're going to have their mouth open. They're going to be a thirsty traveler and they're going to be ready to drink. And it says, uh, or excuse me, she will open her mouth. She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler. What does this sound like, brothers and sisters? Read.
And open her quiver against every arrow.
An arrow is a long shaft. A quiver is the sleeve that the long shaft goes in. And it says she will open her what to every arrow?
She will open her quiver against every arrow.
So she will open her quiver to every arrow. I'll let you do it. We are not little boys and little girls. Some of our children are 16, 17, 12, 13, 11 years old. They know exactly what this is. This is talking about intercourse. If you're sleeping around and you're letting every man touch on you, if you're a boy and you're trying to touch on every little girl, that is wicked. And you need to stop doing that because that's of the devil. Because
Right.
God said that's not how his daughters are supposed to be. So read that from the top one more time.
She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he had found a fountain and drink of every water near her. But hold on, hold on. And every water near her, but every hedge will she sit down and open her quiver against every arrow.
So we must keep our daughters close and keep a tight watch on them,
Right,
because if we do not know the spirit that's on them, you will realize before you will realize, oh, what do you mean you're pregnant? You're only 17 years old. You don't know who the dad is. There was five people, and you're going to be ashamed. You're going to be embarrassed. Like the scriptures say, if you don't keep an eye on them, you don't chastise them, you don't show them the right way, they're going to bring you shame.
right,
Just like some of us brought our parents shame. I can't say that I'm blameless. I brought my mother shame. Some of us brothers on this call, some of us sisters listening brought our parents shame. We can't let that happen to our children. We must want better for our children.
right.
And with that, brothers and sisters, I yield. Enoch, if you have anything else.
Yes, sir. Love and I, yeah, real quick, just to tie into because it's important what the brothers bringing out is that we discipline our kids and we edify them with the scriptures to train them up as a child to be according to the Lord. So the laws that we teach them are for them to better themselves so they don't do the mistakes that we did prior to our youth. Sirach 17 and 16, and just read the top part.
The book of Sirach, chapter 17 and
Or
verse
16.
16.
Read the top part.
Every man from his youth is given to evil.
No, just some people. Not my daughter, not my son, but what?
Every man from his youth is given to evil.
So yes, my kids, your kids, all our kids, people watching their kids, your kids, our kids have spirits on them. That's the reason why it's important what the brothers teaching is that we train them up according to the Bible. We got to clean their minds from the filth that they learn at school, on their phone, social media, out on TV, or the things that when we're not with them, they're doing things behind our back, and we can't sit there and say our kids are angels. They're not angels. We were not angels. So how do we expect our kids to be? We got to teach them. Go to Ecclesiastes 12, verse 9, because the thing that's the most important is that you apply that because at the end of the day, we're all going to get judgment. And our job is to teach our kids. So, regardless if they don't want to change, we're doing our job. God's going to judge them regardless. So, the thing for is for us to do our job. Teach your kids according to the Bible, then you're going to wipe your hands. If they want to be wicked, the Bible says to let them be wicked. God's going to judge their little behinds.
The book of
Ecclesiastes,
Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse
yeah,
9.
11 and 9. I'm sorry about that.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, verse 9.
Yes, sir.
Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth,
Yeah, because when you're young, when you're in your youth, you're happy. You're living life. You're living your best life. Free.
and let thy heart cheer thee in the days of thy youth,
So the Most High says to enjoy your youth, but it's not telling you to do wicked. Read.
and walk in the way of thine heart and in the sight of thine eyes.
So
But
when you're young, you're gonna walk on the ways that the things that you think that are right or that are cool, you're gonna do. If your friends are doing it in school, or people are doing it on the celebrities that you think that are cool, you're gonna go do that. Read.
but but know thou that for all these things God will bring thee into judgment.
So go ahead, enjoy your life, but there's gonna be judgment. God's gonna judge your little young butt because you're doing all these little wicked things that behind your parents' back. You're not listening to the things that they're teaching you. You're not when they chastise you, you don't learn. You just keep on doing it. Read,
Therefore, remove sorrow from thy heart
read,
and put away evil from thy flesh.
read.
For childhood and youth are vanity.
The Bible tells you clearly that our youth and our childhood is wicked because it's full of sins and mistakes. The older we get, the better we get. We get fine like wine. And the brother's class is important because that's what he's saying. Teach up the kids so they can get fine. But if we just leave them alone, they're destroyed already. They're not gonna prosper at all if we don't train them up. You
Hey,
gotta
all
teach.
praises, all praises.
You got an article, Haja? Or a video?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. No need to share the sound. There's no sound, but it's just annoying music. All right, go ahead and read that, Enoch.
6 signs that your child is a brat. There is a few markers that indicate when a child's indisciplined and needs more boundaries. One, a child who never listens to you and refuses to obey your instructions.
So, brothers and sisters, if the shoe fits, put it on. If That's all I can say. I'm not saying this is any one of your child's, or I'm not saying this isn't all of your children. I'm saying if your child fits these things, take into consideration these are the signs that you have a bratty child and they need more discipline and they are considered undisciplined and need more boundaries. So, just a little food for thought.
Verse 2. Oh, I mean,
Number two.
2. Verse 2. A child who contradicts everything you say.
No, you don't know what you're talking about. No, no, I know you don't know. Trust me. No, you don't know, Dad. You don't know, Dad. Dad, you don't know, Mom. You don't know. I'm telling you, you guys don't know. You think you know, but I know. You guys don't know. You guys are wrong. That's a child who contradicts who wants to go against everything you say. That's the signs you have a bratty child or an undisciplined child.
3. A child who constantly pushing.
What does it mean to constantly push? To work their, ooh, you're working my nerves. They just want to see how much they get away with. They want to push and push and push. If this is something you notice your child is always doing, signs that it's an undisciplined child. Read number 4.
Verse 4. A child who won't take no for an answer.
Now we all have and have had and have young children at that age where they don't understand. But after a certain point, they will need to understand that they have to take no as part that is the answer. And if that's something your child is not doing, there's signs that you have an undisciplined, spoiled child. Go ahead. Let's get this next one going.
5. A child who constantly lashes out physically at you or others.
So, a child who is physically abusive, a child who can't control his emotions, a child who hasn't been had his neck bowed down in his youth. Number 6.
6. A child who deliberately rude, destructive, and instructive.
So, a child who is deliberately rude, a child who could see that everyone else say, "I'm coming to say hi, I'm coming to give a hug. I'm not going to go give a hug." Deliberately being rude or destructive. Oh, this person just took their time to build this Lego tower. I'm going to go kick it over. Or instructive. You can't do this. You need to do that. These are signs of an undisciplined child. And that was all I had on this little video right here. So these are just a couple signs, just to take into consideration when raising your children, when watching your children, when bringing up your children, to see what characteristics they have and what you need to work on with them or apply in them, or whoop out of them. With that, I have nothing else to say. Enoch, you got anything?
Yeah, let's just bring this out so then we can get the severity of that brat, because that brat is something that's going to be judged in the last days. Deuteronomy 21, verse verse 20 and 21. Let's get to the point.
Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse 20.
Yes, sir.
And they shall say unto the elder of his city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious.
So like the brother Bara, they're bratty with attitude that she or he don't listen, they don't take instruction, they want to back talk,
Give a
they
little
want to be
backstory
aggressive.
so brothers understand what's going on right here.
Yes, sir.
Verse 18. If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they had chastened him will not hearken unto them, they shall then shall his father and his mother lay hold of him, lay hold on him, and bring him out unto the elders of the city and unto the gates of his place. So if your child is disobedient and rebellious and does not want to listen, even after you chastise them, this was the judgment before Christ and came and allowed us to be under grace. Verse 20, and they shall say unto the elder of his city, this is our son. This our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And
Read.
all the men of his city shall stone him with stones, that he die. So shalt thou put evil away from among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear.
That judgment's coming back in the last days. If our kids don't get themselves right, that's going to be their judgment is death. That's the reason why you want to teach your kid. If you love your kids, keep teach them how to keep the commandments. If you really love your kids, you're going to spank them. You're going to chastise them.
And if you really love your parents, you're going to realize that this judgment that happened to this young man, where he was stoned to death for being disobedient, is a judgment you were saved from through grace, through Christ. You were saved from this. So if you don't want this after Christ returns, listen to your parents now. It's that simple. Because once you become of age, young ladies, you no longer have to listen to your mommy and daddy, but you will have to listen to your husband. Young men, you will no longer have to listen to your mommy and daddy, but you will have to become leaders and lead yourselves.
Right.
So you will have to go to the elders and get guidance from them on how to lead your household till you become that elder and you could instill that wisdom on the next generation. It is important that we keep these commandments and do just. And with that, let me go ahead and hit this. And you, brothers and sisters, enjoy your evening. One moment here. All right, go ahead and turn off this video.